This video was brought to you by the Indiana University Alumni Association. Hello and welcome to our newest Alumni Volunteer Spotlight video. My name is Hannah Fry and I am a student fellow at the Indiana University Alumni Association. I'm currently a junior studying nonprofit management and leadership at the O'Neill School, and I'm excited to introduce to you today Alicia Webb. All right, so thank you for joining us.
Hi, Hannah. Thanks for having me.
All right, so just to briefly introduce Alicia. So Alicia graduated from Indiana University in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in journalism. Alicia took full advantage of her time at IU and was an active member of numerous boards and organizations, including the Student Athletic Board, the Indiana Daily Student, and many more. Since graduating, Alicia was a reporter in Maryland and later transitioned to work in marketing and communications in the greater Chicago area. Today, Alicia serves as head of corporate communications for Generation Bio. Her involvement includes volunteer roles on IU Alumni Association's Chicago chapter, IU Women's Network Chicago, and the Media School. So feel free to add anything I missed, and if not, we'll dive right into our questions.
Let's go.
All right. So again, we're so extremely grateful to have you joining us today and to share your experience with us as an IUAA alumni volunteer leader. So to begin, if you don't mind sharing, how did you first get involved working with IUAA?
So probably about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a call out meeting. I actually live in the Chicago area suburbs, and there was a call out to build a group in the suburbs. There hadn't been one that existed in our area. And I was just excited about an opportunity to meet more alums in the area. So much, Chicago is so big and so spread out. A lot of the events were in the downtown area. And for people like me who live in the suburbs, it was challenging to get from work to downtown. So I was excited to help build the organization in the suburban area. So I've been with the group since about 2013. I originally started as a suburban chair and have since switched to different roles within IUA. Right now I lead recruitment and I do work with the scholarships as well. But it was just a call out meeting. I saw it in an email and I was just very excited.
That's awesome. We love to see small call outs and little announcements like that come full circle. And it seems like you played a huge role in kind of just developing that chapter that is in addition to the Chicago chapter, but is more far reaching.
Yeah.
So to kind of build on that, what do you enjoy most about volunteering with the Alumni Association?
I think the most fun for me is just meeting more alums and building relationships. I started in 2013 with a couple people and I'm still very much in touch with them. So those relationships I find to be it's so exciting. It's so fun. And it's really fun to meet people who were at IU at the same time that I was and who I never knew. It's such an incredibly small world. And Chicago, as big as it is, there's such a phenomenal chapter, such a phenomenal family. People who live in this area who went to IU. So that for me is the most fun part of just meeting people, just building my network and finding people who studied the same things that I did or people who didn't study the same things I did who I've become friends with. So, you do have lifelong friends that you meet at Bloomington, but even after you graduate, I've found that I'm meeting people who I'm still in touch with 8 years into this.
Yeah, I feel like just in my experiences as a student, like traveling domestically and internationally, I always run into someone from IU. So I look forward to post-graduation, just meeting people from all generations of IU and still being able to have that thing in common, whether it be Buffalo's or something along those lines. So
it's pretty remarkable. I mean, just the network, the village of IU people that you will find. I mean, even I have to tell you, I live in the suburbs, but my neighbor 2 doors down, her daughter went to IU. So it's just so funny to see how many people just within within the immediate Chicago area. There's a lot of us. So it's exciting. It's fun.
yeah, I believe that. I feel like every other person I meet at IU is from Chicago and their parents went to IU. And it's like
Tons
we're
of
just
us.
building a whole additional IU in Chicago.
Yeah.
But all right. So clearly, like you've had a really successful volunteer career with the IU Alumni Association. So what would you tell someone like myself or a recent grad who is thinking about volunteering?
It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Once you graduate, get involved with IU because you're going to find it's another piece of your family. So I know that Chicago, I keep mentioning Chicago, but so many IU graduates come to Chicago for their first job, regardless of what company it is to join. There's such a great network. There's such a great foundation here. You never know who you might meet. And I would tell people, get involved, get engaged. And I think it's that same advice that we gave to people their freshman year of college, was to get involved, meet people. It's the same thing. If you want to meet people, you want to build your network, you want to volunteer, you never know who you might run into I know we're still living in this COVID world, but when things do open back up, there's a bar dedicated to IU where you can watch, basketball and football games. So it's a big world. And you just never know who you might meet. So my advice is to get involved, do something. There's different committees within IUAA. We have an athletics committee. Like I said, I work on scholarships. There's people who do social events. We have someone who's dedicated to arts and culture. So just like IUAA has something for everybody. So I encourage people to get involved the best that they can.
That's really awesome advice. I think like your words about freshman year, just like meeting people and joining things, like has definitely influenced and impacted me as a student. And so knowing that those similar processes carry on into adulthood and that can help you kind of continue to build yourself and your network is really good to hear.
It's no different from the time you were at IU to the time you graduate. You still want to continue to meet people and just build on your network.
That's awesome. And obviously at IU, you're kind of limited to the 4 years of undergrad or grad students and whatnot. But once you're in the real world, you have IU alum from however far you can reach.
But so we're literally everywhere. We're in every single city. There's people, you mentioned earlier living in Maryland, there was, an IU network in the Washington, D.C. area. So there's groups regardless of the city that you live in.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hopefully get involved with one of them somewhere. Although I love Indiana, I think a different chapter would be fun to join as well.
Yeah, they would be happy to have you.
So, as someone whose role is to identify promising new volunteers, what are some of the skills you believe make a successful and satisfied volunteer?
That's a great question. I think that a good volunteer is someone who is willing to try anything, to kind of get their hands dirty, because and I think most people tell you, there's really no playbook for a lot of what we do as an alumni group. We've tried some events, we've tried others. We're really in the business of getting alums together. But you've got to be willing to put the work in, to call venues. Again, once we get out of this COVID world, to put yourself out there. We recently, about 2 weeks ago, we did a virtual networking via Zoom. We're doing a virtual blood drive right now. So you really got to be someone who's flexible and willing to try a little bit of everything, because it's not going to be the same, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who, when it comes to networking, like we look for guest speakers. Are you willing to get on LinkedIn and reach out to people who you may not know and ask them to come and participate in events? So you need to have a little bit of, you have to be a little bit outgoing, willing to talk to people. Not that you can't be an introvert and do well here. We need people who are willing to kind of put themselves out there and make phone calls and ask questions. Because it's so much fun at the end of the day, just getting together, but we need people who are flexible. Most of our work, we try to do our meetings after hours, so we're really not infringing on your work day. So we're flexible there, but there may be time to time that you've got to, make some calls during your work day, but we're really reasonable when it comes to that. But I think, and also what's really most important is that we need someone who's passionate about IU. You better love Indiana University. That's the most important thing in my vision. Just, this need, this passion to want to continue to support the university.
Yeah, I think those are great pieces of advice. And I personally don't foresee any struggle like loving IU. But I think the flexibility advice is also fantastic. I think just because no one could have predicted a pandemic or anything like that,
No.
you have people who are in positions that have really stepped up and like put on virtual events and continued to maintain these relationships despite the conditions. So I think
I've recruited I think 2 or 3 people to our board since last spring, since April last year. So people who have come on board literally in the midst of the pandemic. So it can be done. And we just ask people to, bring your passion.
Yeah. And I think while it can be daunting to reach out and try something new during a time like this, I think it's one of the best things you can do. I know a lot of people are feeling lonely or might not have a community to turn to, but I think the IU community, like you've mentioned, is definitely always there.
Well,
So
it's beneficial. Like the last meeting we were on a couple weeks ago, we were on Zoom, and I'm like, oh, I miss everybody, but it was still so good because I still feel connected to those people. I
yeah,
used to see everyone in person once a month, and it's like, oh my God, the last time I saw you in person was February 2020. So it's been a full
yes.
year, but it's still nice to know that I have those connections to my alma mater.
Yeah, of course. And despite the virtualness being annoying sometimes, I'm honestly pretty grateful for it because otherwise we wouldn't be chatting with you today. So,
Exactly. There's been some
uh,
perks. I mean, the pandemic has brought some good things, right?
yes, for sure. So, just kind of to change gears a little bit, do you have a specific contribution or achievement in your work with your alumni board that you're most proud of or that stands out the most to you?
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of that I love most is what we do for IU Day. So obviously last year we were not able to gather in person because the pandemic hit in March and IU Day is in April. But in 2019, we threw a fabulous happy hour at a bar in downtown Chicago, and we just had great turnout. We were able to meet a lot of people. We were able to recruit more volunteers. We gave a small presentation, but it was so exciting, so empowering to see so many IU alums come out and I remember it was cold and it was either raining or snowing because it's Chicago, so you never know what you might get. But the weather was bad and people still showed up to support the university. And it was so exciting. And we raised money for scholarships. And I love any opportunity to help give back to the university. So our work around IU Day has just been something that I'm just always overwhelmed with, filled with joy because it's a great opportunity to put our school on display and talk about what we do. So, IU Day, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do next month, this year for IU Day. But that for me is always something that I really, really look forward to.
That's awesome. I love that you bring up IU Day, and I'm excited to see how all sorts of chapters get involved. But it's crazy because you see the power of IU shine through these groups that are designated for it. But when there's a designated day for these designated groups, it's even more
I mean,
powerful.
it's
So,
great. I mean, that same in 2019, we did a breakfast. We had events throughout the day, and people were just, so engaged, and wanted to come. There were people who came to multiple events in that one day. So it's exciting to see.
yeah, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with this year. So, just to kind of wrap things up, do you have any advice for recent or future graduates who are looking to move to Chicago area? Obviously, you've mentioned just volunteering and getting involved. Is there anything else that you would say?
I mean, Chicago is obviously a fabulous city. It's still relatively close to Bloomington. Reach out to people. I when I speak to other student groups, don't be afraid to reach out. Obviously join your alumni association, get involved that way. But get online and find, if there's someone in your field that you're trying to work towards. If you're trying to get into, I don't know, pharmaceuticals, or if you were a journalism major and you want to work in, for a news outlet, whatever the case might be, reach out to people. And you'll be surprised. People, for the most part, do want to help you. I know it probably seems a little intimidating, but my advice is, ask for help. I mean, obviously now it's virtual coffee, but ask someone, hey, can I meet with you for 10 minutes and kind of pick your brain about something? People would really, really be thrilled to help you. So just, continue to, especially in these days and times, continue to build that network, talk to people, if there's an area that you're interested in, just continue to people would be happy to be a resource. Just pick everybody's brain who you can find. And you're going to be surprised. I think that there is going to continue to be these opportunities in this virtual world to get to know people. Use every last bit of that to your advantage.
That's awesome advice. I have a couple peers who I know are graduating and have accepted jobs up in Chicago. So I'm excited to get them connected with you and to see
Please have
all
them reach
the
out to me. I know it's hard right now. Like we're still in this like weird, only 25% at the bars, and we can't really eat outside. It's still cold. But I think by summer, we're going to be in a place where it won't be huge gatherings, but we can sit outside and, talk to people. So, people are welcome to reach out to me and tell your friends who are graduating, get in touch with people. I mean, people really are excited to lend their expertise.
awesome. Well, I will definitely be sharing your name and I
Sure,
look
be
forward
my
to seeing
guest.
those relationships grow as well.
Be my guest. Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing with us today and for your work with the Chicago chapter and everything else you do for IU. The Indiana University Alumni Association wants to thank its volunteer leaders.